From Tacoma, Washington, this is the Off the Back podcast. Hello and welcome to Off the Back podcast. I'm Matt Bonjour.
And I'm Danny Clark.
And we are talking about the Tour de France. C'est le Tour de France.
We have our French announcer with us.
Nous voici au Tour de France. Nous sommes à Levers, où le International Team Trial qui se passe. That's about all I've got right now. Nous applaudis. Ouais.
Yes, so this week has kicked off the tour. I have to admit, it completely snuck up on me.
You did?
A bit. So Matt actually joined us for dinner the day before the tour, and I that night realized the tour was starting the following morning and was like, oh my gosh, the tour is starting tomorrow morning. And I was like, how do I feel like we missed this?
Well, I'm just so annoyed because neither GCN nor Flow Bikes are carrying it.
Yes.
Which means that I had to pay for a subscription for Peacock, which is the NBC.
I see.
The NBC app, not Tom Peacock.
Yeah,
that would be. No, they should rename it Pidcock for the tour. But you know, just another subscription that I now have to pay for.
Well, and this coming off the back of formerly NBC Sports Gold, that became NBC Sports, which is now all in the Peacock app.
But you're not still paying for NBC Gold.
It auto canceled.
Oh, it auto
after the Dauphiné. So,
although I have to I think Peacock was $5.99.
Well, that's not bad.
And it's frustratingly
better than the cycling pass.
Well, initially it was actually difficult to find. Like I actually had to search Tour.
Yeah.
For it to pull up and for me to find where in Peacock it was. It's actually not super obvious.
Well, and that's the frustration is like they it's all NBC content basically, and so it's not like there is a tour hub, but like even there it's difficult to navigate. Like they don't have replays like in a separate, browser or navigational menu. And then like not that Matt really cares, but I don't mind it, but like Paul Liggett and whomever the other like NBC broadcaster is that you're looking
I haven't been watching.
Well, I know. That's why I said this wouldn't matter to you.
Yeah.
But like I actually don't mind that commentary, and typically they run two different broadcasts.
Right.
But they only replayed the European announcer broadcast.
Ant McCrossan,
which you probably prefer. And I don't mind.
Which I do prefer. And in the Aussie, Simon Gerrans.
Yeah.
And he's great. I'd prefer to have Daniel Lloyd or Bradley Wiggins.
Yeah, it's fun.
Or no, you know who's really good is the ex-racer, the ex-British champion. What's his name?
Oh, the former Quebeca rider that's done some commentary lately?
Yeah. It'll come to me.
Bernie Eisel. No, he's South African.
No, he's on the ground, and he's Austrian. He's not South African.
Wait, what?
Bernie Eisel is Austrian.
I swore he was South African.
No, it's
Bernie.
what's his name?
Eisel. Are you sure?
Yeah, no, he's definitely Austrian.
Oh,
he just
gosh.
he speaks like he speaks like an Austrian.
Well, sorry, Bernie.
Oh God, what's
Bernard.
his name? But anyway, the guy that I'm talking about.
Yes.
He raced for Aqua Blue for a season.
Oh, right.
And he's great. Like the insight that he brings in terms of what's going on in the race is amazing.
Yeah.
If only I could remember his name, but
we'll look it up and get back to
Adam
you.
Blythe.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I remembered his name.
There you go. You did it.
Yeah, he is by far like sort of they have the commentator and then the sort of insider, like Sean
Kelly,
and then they also will have like Daniel Lloyd and
right.
Simon Gerrans, etc. Like
Wait,
he's
is Sean
the best.
Kelly commentating? That just was the first thing that came to mind when you started with Sean.
No, yes, he has been.
Okay.
That's not even
Well,
an
sorry,
Irish
I'm not-
accent.
yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. It's like someone with an underbite.
But I
overbite.
mean, the obvious choice would be to watch it on Eurosport. But
Yeah.
in the end, when I can spend I think it was like $4.99 or $6.99 for Peacock to have Ant and Dec, little English joke for you, Ant and Simon Gerrans commentating compared to having to pay for what is it, like $9.99 a month for VPN plus I think it's like $8 or $9 for Eurosport. Hey,
not to
the
mention
value's there.
needing to have a European credit card and all kinds of other.
Exactly. Like my dad keeps like every time I send him like the phone bill because he's on my plan, he will always remind me like, oh yeah, and you owe me £5 for Eurosport.
Still
I'm
dealing
like,
in pounds, huh?
Well, I mean that's what they use in
No,
the
sure,
UK.
I get it. But like, you don't go to the bank and exchange your money for pounds.
No, and in fact, I have just told him that we'll like square up, but I have not mentally committed to squaring up.
So, if you're listening, Matt's dad, thanks for buying a cycling subscription.
Yeah, you're probably not going to get my money.
Well, the short of it is, we had to adapt our viewing preferences and apps and such. But the tour is in full swing, not without quite the controversy.
Well, and what's really interesting about this tour, like, and looking at the people that have really come through and performed, except for one exception, which is stage 4.
Don't get too far ahead.
Which we'll dig into.
Okay, great.
But they're like the names that we have been talking about all year.
Yeah.
The only person that's missing from that list is Wout, and he was sort of pipped to win today's time trial and didn't quite pull it off, which is interesting to feel like. I felt like Wout's tour was last year.
Yeah.
Didn't he win like 2 stages?
Yeah.
And this year seems like it's, the other guys'
we'll
tour.
see. I think, we'll get into this. I don't want to go too far, but I think, let's just say it's been both delightful and unexpected. And I think some of the uncertain is maybe the better word I was looking for. And I think the uncertainty is throwing a lot of wrenches in the spokes, so to speak.
Yeah, the GC battle is really weird right now.
Yeah.
You look at the top 20, and it is not what you would expect it to be 5 stages into the tour.
Yeah.
At all. Like, I mean, you would. I think number 1 is sort of expected, and we'll get into that in a minute. Number 2 is sort of expected,
all running away.
But the fact that like the GC battle is so spread out, it is a surprise. It feels really weird, and it's hard not to look at the GC right now and think that a certain someone from a certain country that nobody had ever heard of until about 3 years ago is going to just roll away with the tour.
Well, we'll see. So all that being said, there's a lot to dive into. I hope the brief synopsis was not enough fulfillment. We're gonna come back to that. But
is this just where we end the podcast?
We're like, thanks for tuning in. We've always wanted to have a quick one for you, and we did
Dude,
it.
Every time I get into one of these and I think, let's just do a quick half an hour, and it ends up being an hour 10.
Yeah, totally. Well, we could cut this off at 8 minutes, but I think we'd be doing everyone a disservice. So.
We are going to give you guys a gift, and gals.
We'll give you some time back
give you
this
all...
week.
God. Oh, God. We've been on too many, like, Zoom, too many WebEx and Zoom calls.
Dude, we're all going to look back at this and, like, our kids are going to be like, why did everyone say you were giving you time back all the time when it was the mid-2020s?
We are going to skip the week recap because, frankly, we...
Oh, I was going to... Matt, why don't we just get this out of the way?
I have nothing
How
to
was your
share.
week? Okay,
Nothing.
great. Now ask me how
nothing.
my week was.
How was your week?
Great. Okay, so no, wait. I did have things. That was my great comma. Let me tell you about it.
So?
Okay, so I rode my bike.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. I've been... Gosh, like this feels like such mundane and repeated news, but have just really been focusing on posture position and all that. I did take some made some commitments this week, which is I'm finally going to really get after my body and try to get some things.
I've been getting after your body for a couple of
Awkward.
years now. Hey-o.
So awkward. It's not true. I was going to get after some physical therapy and so basically, signed up for some therapy here with a gal in town who I really respect and think does a fantastic job, and went and saw her for the first time this week, and man, it was everything I hoped it would be. She, I've done physical therapy before where it's just like, oh, your knee hurts, great, we're gonna give you these exercises, and then you just show up and like the guys or gals or whomever is like watching, whatever TV they have playing. And then they're like, great, 10 more reps. And you're just like doing these exercises. And it's like, really, it's good. It's useful, but it's not very personalized. And in contrast, like this gal had worked for a group and had started her own practice and worked, like I was the only one there. She only does one-on-one sessions. And she did like some fascia release and like some manual adjustment therapy, and then got me into some exercises and stuff, and like instantly, like already feeling significantly improved. So I'm really excited about that. Like believing now that I can fix my shit and like get my body back together. So pretty thrilled, feeling good about that. And then, we're not sponsored on this podcast, and frankly, like,
No, we're definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not sponsored, except by our own wallets and intentions. But the thing I would say is, I had tried out WTB tires, which I'm like, I kind of have my favorite tires, and we've talked a lot of gear on this episode or on this podcast, and I don't want to go too far down this conversation, but I did want to at least give WTB some recognition. Yeah. I'd bought some of their tires and was sorely displeased. Had some gravel tires that I set up tubeless. They were the worst tires I've ever mounted. They leaked sealant on the sidewalls for like days, and I flatted on my first ride they had sent me replacement tires, and I flatted on my first ride of replacement tires. What? And so I was just super bummed and called them up and I was like, hey guys, look, well, first of all, I sent a support email, and I don't want to over commit to what they'll do, but I'm just going to share my experience with some positive vibes. I had sent him an email and just owned it and said, hey, look, like I rode a bike on a gravel road. Chances are it's probably my fault. But from a customer experience, like super frustrated knowing that I had all these like sealing issues and mounting issues, and on ride 10 miles in, like have like my tire goes flat and I literally can't find like a rip or tear. It's just like sealant's like spewing out of my sidewall.
That's insane.
And so anyway, the guy, instead of replying via email, called me and was like, hey, like let's talk this through. And ended up sending me a new tire, according to him, as like just a bro favor, because he was convinced that it was just a true, puncture. I sent some pictures over and stuff, but he's like, look, man, like let's get this right. And so I got a replacement. Again, just don't want to overpromise what their customer service will do, but it will at least tell you that it seems as though their intent is to find the right solution that's, still respects what they can and can't do, but tries to serve their customers. So I was pleased in that regard. Back on a WTB tire. We'll see how this round 2 goes. But
which ones are they? The Ventures?
Riddlers. I got the Riddlers. Some Gravel tires.
Okay. I can't remember which ones I have. I have 2 pairs.
I think you have the Ventures.
I feel like I have the Ventures as well. I have like the 700C Ventures and the 650B Ventures on one on my wife's bike, one on mine, and they've been pretty flawless.
Okay, well, hopefully I have some better luck here, but
yeah, I hope so too.
So just excited. Had some good rides. And sorry, lastly, since this is national news, although again, without going too far out of the way here, it was really, really hot.
I've blocked that.
Like
from my
ungodly
memory.
hot. And now hear me, in the Pacific Northwest. Look, I lived in Texas. I've been to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like I've been in hot weather. I lived through like 3 months. I lived through like 100 days over 100 in Texas, like in streaks of like 3 or 4 weeks at a time. And like I think I was in Texas for the hottest day in years, which was like 115 or what have you. I've been hot. I've experienced hot.
So, are you telling us that you know hot?
I know what it's like to feel really, really,
Really
hot.
hot. Gotcha.
But this Pacific Northwest heat was just unbearable.
Something else.
And yeah, and the reports had said that like we're like 40% of homes have air conditioning, which is like the lowest of any like major US city. And so it was just hard to cool down your home. Like I think Matt said his house was like what, 86 or 87.
Well, I mean, it was like 88, 89, but that
Yeah.
was like the cool part of the house.
Right.
Yeah, so that was like a part that we could hang out in.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
No, it was crazy. We just like, it was like it was a nuclear winter, and we just like hunkered down.
Yeah.
And it was like, let's just get through this
Yeah.
day.
Well, and I talked to other friends who like did have some sort of small AC unit window or what have you, and they like put sheets up to like quarter off a room and just anyway, you know, all that being said, certainly a lot of people had a way worse experience. Like I you know, thinking of a lot of the folks who are homeless and that type of thing, it was just bad all the way around. And I was dumb enough to decide to go ride my bike because I was so
On
pissed
Saturday
off.
or Sunday?
I don't remember. Sunday. I think I was just so irritated.
Oh, Monday. Wait, no.
Sunday, I
Probably
think.
worked Monday.
Anyway, and you know, it was a dumb idea. It was really stupid. But anyway, we all survived. Today's actually been a gloomy, like cloudy day. 70, like 2 was the high, maybe.
Oh, a little
Maybe
bit higher.
76.
A little bit higher.
And it was just lovely, a lovely
Yeah,
transition.
it was
so
quite delightful.
So hopefully weather is kinder to us over the rest of the summer, because it is, after all, only June. And typically in June, it is
It's crappy.
crappy weather.
4th
So,
of July tends to be that pivot point. At least that's my wife's
I don't want any
theory.
pivoting.
Well, but
I want
it is funny, though, because the 4th of July, like the 3rd of July will be crappy.
Yeah.
The 4th will be okay. And then
Yeah.
the 5th is just sunshine. And then we get sunshine until like October. Like,
Right.
That sort of middle of September.
True.
It's weird. It's very weird.
So all that being said, that was just a general recap. But you guys probably aren't tuning in to listen to me blabber on about my life. Let's talk about the Tour de France. And so this tour, we're gonna do a quick recap of the first 5 stages, because that's what we've seen so far. But good grief, I think in all my years of following cycling, this has been some of the most angering and exciting tour racing I've ever witnessed. And I'll start with one source of my anger, which was stage 1. And just to kind of kick us off, I put the town names in here because I knew you could nail it.
Oh, so stage 1 from Brest to Landerneau was taken by Alaphilippe with kind of a late attack with what? Wasn't it about? Sorry, if you're hearing that,
we
that's
have
my
our
dog.
dog.
My dog. With about 2Ks to go, he attacked from a group of favorites, including Matthews, Roglic, MVDP, like Wout, the people that we were expecting, the punchers.
Yes.
And took that stage. But really, the discussion point, or the key event from that race, and the key event that all of my friends have been talking to me about, like every single person, beyond other events that we'll talk about later on, was as a spectator holding up a sign, Tony Martin seeing aforementioned sign and realizing that the sign is blocking his way, him like ramp. I don't know what is
Ramming?
even the word. Just like kind of tensing up, getting ready to run into the sign, hitting the sign, and then hitting the deck, and essentially about 95% of the peloton hitting the deck.
So this was, I think an exciting start to the race where a lot of this is, we've had other races this year. We've had a few canceled, right? A few postponed, but this really felt like COVID's kind of waned.
Yeah, absolutely.
This hit with full force racing. Like this is the cycling calendar.
The kind of the back to normal.
This is we're like, let's go. And so I think
you're right, because even the Giro was pretty vacant in terms of crowds. Like this is crowds at the side of the roads, edging into the road, making it narrower for the riders. I remember seeing riders kind of like doing the waving sign, like get out of the way.
Right. And so this is like the return of fans to cycling. And after almost a year and a half of both racing and the fans kind of all being in hiatus in some form or fashion. And so there was this excitement. And I think typically like stage one, usually it might be just a little ceremonial, like not, but this felt like somewhere in between where I think everyone was racing and excited to race and excited to be back in the fanfare of it all. And in this instance, as Matt explained, wall to wall, literally like edge to edge of the road, of the peloton in a complete bunch, and some gal, seemingly, that's the report. And by the way, the news came out today, has been found and arrested and potentially charged with like a 25,000 euro fine or something.
Do you think that's excessive? Like arrested?
I don't.
Arrested.
Well, that's what my question is, what are you going to charge them with?
Well, I was reading that
standing on the side of a roadway with a sign.
No, there was some things.
Like what is the civil like? Oh, I'm not trying to argue that it wasn't terrible, but I'm saying like legally, what is the charge?
It is. There is a charge that has been discussed, and it's something along the lines of like, besides like endangering like
a public
neglect or something like that. Hold on.
Well, while Matt's querying the charge, the news is that this woman has been found and arrested.
And then potentially getting sued by riders.
Sure.
Well,
and I think
charge of involuntary injury caused by a lack of prudence would entail a fine of 1,500, and that's from L'Equipe, the French newspaper.
I love that language of that law. Gross. That's basically saying you're grossly negligent and hurt somebody because you were stupid.
Yeah, you demonstrated a lack of prudence for the care and concern of those around you.
Gosh, what a great letter of the law there. But so
I feel like the fine, 1,500 euros. I
thought it went up a little bit.
I feel like the getting arrested.
Well, I mean,
it seems like a lot.
The arresting is, I think, just part of the civil process, right? Like you have to be anyway. But all that being said, if you're a fan of the sport, you saw the crash, but it immediately tarnished what was this like jubilant return to racing, and of course just the magnitude of how many riders were impacted, and just for some perspective, like Matt and I've had the the fortune of being like on the side of the road. I remember being in the middle of like Tour California, like in the middle of nowhere. You remember that time the Peloton came by and it was like wall to wall, like literally like they covered every inch of road just for efficiency's sake. And so I can understand like not like that shocked me, and I was standing like 2 feet away and I was like, holy crap. Like it felt like a freight train. So I can understand like someone being, unaware of that, like the force of the Peloton coming through, but man, just not looking at the riders, not watching how far they'd protruded into the road. obviously a selfish act to get on
Yeah.
TV with a sign.
And being more focused on like, where's the camera bike?
Right.
Like I don't know about you, but we went to the tour of California. I mean, you and I went 4 times.
Yeah.
I went 5 times. I actually don't remember seeing a single camera bike. Like I've never noticed the camera bikes.
Really?
I was always so focused on the riders.
Oh, sure.
And so these people,
Yeah, right.
these people just seem to be focused on the wrong thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, you shouldn't, like, I honestly don't even remember seeing helicopters. I don't remember seeing camera bikes. I only ever remember seeing, oh, hey, there's Sagan, there's Moss, there's Cav, there's, you know, like such and such a
well,
rider.
and don't get me wrong, we've had our TV fame of cheering along the side of the road.
Yeah, but we were looking at the riders.
Right,
it
right,
wasn't
right,
until
right.
afterwards that we realized.
And there's other ways. If you want to do a sign, hold it up over your head. Don't like protrude it out into the road. Or if you're really clever, go get a tractor and write something in your farm field.
There we go. That's the
and
way.
Then get people dressed in like traditional attire to like parade around.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Get your tractor, write something in your field.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What do you
So,
think?
anyways, so all that being said, this was like the e-brake on the tour, literally at its starting stage, and since then has just been this cascading series of just stupid shit that's ruined the race in many ways.
Yeah.
And not only did that stage have that crash, but they also had another touch of wheels that brought down the bunch of the peloton at 10K to go.
Yeah, and I think Roglic lost time there.
Yeah.
And a couple of other riders lost time. But if I may, is create a segue into stage 2.
Sure.
To talk about this. So I mentioned that like I've just had like friend and coworker after coworker and friend reach out to me and talk about this. And I've had more people comment about this than comment about the fact that Mathieu van der Poel won stage 2 in honor of his grandfather, Raymond Poulidor, who never got to wear the yellow jersey, dedicated his win and dedicated his yellow jersey to his grandfather, who passed away last year. And it just feels like, to me, that's more important than some idiot.
Well, and that's a great segue, because one thing that happened on stage 1 was Team Alpecin Phoenix adorned themselves in the traditional colors that Poulidor had raced in.
Yeah.
And with, some of the intent that Van der Poel would take stage 1. So there was some upset that Alaphilippe took the stage, although...
No, but not from the French.
Well, and frankly, not a surprise and not a disappointment either, because Alaphilippe really is, become a recent star of the tour, and just someone that energizes the racing to such a degree.
It was like, oh, here we go. Here's 2019 again.
Yeah.
Like he's going to kind of keep this on for like 18 stages or something.
For sure. Though to talk about this transition in stage 2, it was a stage that we did see Mathieu van der Poel win in classic Mathieu van der Poel fashion, where on the Mur de Bretagne. Sorry, everybody.
Mur de Bretagne.
Thank you.
Bretagne.
Which was the final circuit of the stage. He, with all tact and prowess, sprinted for the time bonus, and then basically hung in the pack, and it was Team Sky that really took up the pacemaking and effectively gave Van der Poel a chance to kind of refresh and recharge, so that he could attack again on the Mur de Bretagne.
Close enough.
I'll just pretend like I'm chewing peanut butter, and then I'll sound better. And then was able to storm away from some of the greatest and most powerful climbers in the world, Pogacar and Roglic, and took the stage win in. Look, Mathieu van der Poel's had exciting wins. Like, I think of Amstel arguably being one of the best, like
ever.
One Day Classics ever.
Yeah.
But this was that plus the heart and the emotion of winning and taking yellow for his grandfather, who was like if you don't know or haven't heard of Raymond Poulador, who's been called the Eternal Second because he was second, like 6 times or something?
Like a billion times.
And never had the yellow jersey. And Matthew Vanderpool took the yellow jersey. I had read that him and his father are the first father-son duo to ever wear yellow in the tour. But this was an honor for him to give to his family and his family's legacy, to take the yellow jersey, and in fact has been in yellow for 4 days now. But that moment, so back to my stupid writing on Sunday in the heat, was because, or maybe it was Saturday, I literally went and rode my bike because I watched this stage and watched Matthew Vanderpool race with such heart that I was like, F this, I'm going to go ride my bike. I don't care how hot it is.
Nice.
There's some other reasons too, but that is a cycling highlight that's going to stay with me the rest of my life. And it made me love bike racing.
I love that.
But anyway, just such a powerful moment. So anyway, I took the reins on that one, but I didn't know if you had any thoughts to add.
No, you pretty much summed it up there. I think, we said at the beginning of the podcast that it's felt like this is Mathieu's tour.
Yeah.
He kind of had a little bit of an iffy spring season with not quite the wins I think we expected him to win. And
right.
And to see, Alpecin Phoenix come in, a Continental Pro team, and take the reins and make it happen has just been amazing. And so it's just super cool, and it's super cool to see him dedicating this race to his grandfather and see how much it means to him. And he wasn't even going to come to the tour because he wanted to ride mountain bikes at the Olympics, for God's sake. So it's super cool. But moving on to stage 3, we saw his teammate Merlier win kind of a crash mod stage, which ended up with a sort of disunified rider protest at the beginning of stage 4, where, there was, what's happening is that obviously the sprinters teams are at the front and they're leading the race, but all of the GC teams are trying to keep their riders out of trouble. And because there's this sort of disunity in interest and purpose, we end up with these crash mod stages where everybody's riding for different reasons and riding with a different level of urgency, and everyone's riding with a very high level of urgency. And we had, just crazy, crazy stuff happening. Crashes all over the place. It was just like, oh my God, another one.
Yeah.
And we ended up with Tim Merlier, the fastest Belgian, according to MVDP, taking the stage with like frigging Ewan, Caleb Ewan McGregor taking Sagan out on the last corner.
Yeah. So, oh gosh,
dude, it was such a mess.
So if you're hearing the emotional transition, it was like stage 1 was like the lowest low. Stage 2 was like the highest high. And
How
then
did that
stage
happen?
3 was the lowest low. And it's, Caleb Ewan. So a couple things. So one, Alpecin Phoenix. What? 2 stages so far?
In a row.
Okay. Crazy. Number 1. Number 2, Caleb Ewan, again, this finishing shoot had this weird chicane to it, and Tim Merlier overlapped Ewan, who I think races very well, but sprints in just the most tenacious fashion, like with his head literally like down below his bars.
Ewan McGregor.
Caleb Ewan McGregor, and just had like a touch of wheels that one broke his collarbone, I think six places, if I remember right. And then 2, just annihilated Sagan at the same time. And I remember watching the crash in slow-mo, just seeing Sags like mashing his heels into the ground to try to just keep his torso from like dragging along the concrete, it was just horrific. And all that being said, just a real disappointment again to have these crashes of this magnitude take out the riders of this caliber, and really just upend the race. And so as beautiful as stage 2 was, stage 3 was quite the disappointment in that it yet again had just kind of screwed everything up.
Can I just talk about just a quick highlight?
Yeah.
Highlight for me was definitely seeing MVDP leading out Tim Merlier for the sprint, and it kind of evoked all of these memories from the 2012 Tour where Bradley Wiggins was leading Cav out on the Champs-Elysees in the yellow jersey, and just kind of how much that moment meant to him. So that was really fun to kind of see all of that kind of circle back. And there's an episode of Graham Norton, which you should check out on YouTube, where damn it, Bradley Wiggins, Caleb Ewan McGregor. Bradley Wiggins is talking about the fact that he got to lead the world champion, who was Cavendish at the time, while in the yellow jersey, was actually the highlight of his career above anything. And so seeing MVDP doing that was just like, oh, this is so cool. It was really cool. And kind of despite all the crashes, was one that I think definitely inspired some of the excitement for the finish. But can I introduce stage 4? I have to talk about it. I'm sorry. It just meant so much to me. Let me put one small note out there. So just as a small note, I didn't realize this until today creating our show notes, but Jasper Philipsen and Nasser Buhani, whom I have mixed feelings about, did finish second and third, and spoiler alert, stage 4, as we're transitioning, that they swapped places and Buhani finished second and Philipsen third in stage 4. So just, interesting, both great racers, despite some of the personality there associated with Buhani, but just, cool to see those two finish in second and third and kind of flip-flop. But as we're moving from what stage 3 was kind of a low light yet again, we moved to stage 4, which again was magic. Dude, highlight of like my lifetime, maybe. I can think of just a couple of moments where I have jumped up and down because of a specific result winning. Like, one example I can remember is, I think it was the second time that Sagan won the world champs jersey. Oh yeah. And I was watching in bed on my phone with my wife sleeping next to me. And and I remember just getting up out of the bed and just just total silence. Oh my gosh. Just going like, yeah. And just like jumping up and down with my wife still sleeping next to me. And stage 4 was one of those moments. And the reason for that is that, we talked about in our last episode of like, is it going to even be possible that Mark Cavendish is going to go to the Tour? And if Mark Cavendish goes to the Tour, is it even going to be possible that he could take a stage? And not only did he end up going to the Tour because of just a weird Bennett, Patrick Lefevre, who's the head of De Koenig Quick-Step, fallout or injury situation, but he actually won his 31st stage, so 5 years after his last win in 2016. And Cav is back. Cav is back. Man. Gosh, and it was such a, stage 2, we saw Van der Poel was asked, when you finish the race, what did you have in mind? And he said, my grandfather, of course, and just broke into tears. And similarly, Cav was discredited. I mean, in some ways, kind of stripped of his reputation. Like, everyone kind of disregarded him. He'd washed up. He fought his own mental demons. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And his physical
yeah.
Epstein Barr demons.
Yeah, and just as soon as he crossed the line, immediately into tears, and just literally like the moment it hit was just like shaking, literally like shaking, with such emotion. And
Yeah.
he's always been a racer who's raced with such passion. And again, what it meant to him and what it meant for his team to stand behind him, because I think arguably, you know, like some of this was external forces of those teammates and those teams that he'd been with not really trusting in standing behind him and kind of treating him like, you know, the victim of his circumstances, which was like Epstein Barr and other things. But in this case, you know, DeKernig's like, hey, like we'll get your back. And they raced with trust in him. And when they did, like, it just showed what that power of a team can mean, what that power of confidence can mean, and just his own fight personally to say, like, you know, honestly, like, excuse me, but like, fuck everybody. Like, I'm going to come out here and win a fucking bike race.
Yeah.
And he did it.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And it was a surprise. I thought Alpecin Phoenix was going to take another stage, but man, just everything for Cav just like clicked, and he did
I just love that moment. Like, I can still remember watching it and just being like, oh my God, he's right there. Oh my God, he's right there.
Yeah.
He's in the lead. How is he doing this?
Oh man.
Oh, dude, that was, I mean, that's for me, like, there's just these moments that I can remember. Like, I've been watching bike racing for 10 years now. Like, 2011 Giro was the first serious bike race I watched. And there's just moments that stand out to me, and this is one of those moments.
Well, and
me.
The other thing too is, like, when you think of sprinters, I mean, and this isn't to discredit anybody, but you look at like Marcel Kittel or Gaviria or you know, even Sags, like some of these guys, I mean, undeniable, like forever going to be stand in the history books for being great sprinters. Mm-hmm. And their careers have, I mean, like Kittel, you know, retired early, actually had a similar kind of pattern to Cav where, you know, just kind of got burned out emotionally, physically, and, you know, took a step back to raise some kids and be a dad. But like, you know, Gaviria and some of these others that were really up and coming dominant sprinters, and Sags even, you know, they kind of had their spotlight. And Cav has been racing since 2006?
Yeah, about that. His first tour stage win was 2008. Okay.
And it's like, this dude has proved that he's arguably one of the best sprinters of all time. Like,
dude, it's beyond that.
Yeah, like,
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, period.
And he's
stop.
had his heyday. He's also had his ups and downs, but he's also proven his athleticism to say, like, I'm one of the best sprinters of all time, period. Yeah. So anyway, it just quite a moment. Again, coming off the heels of stage 3, stage 4 was just, again, another cycling moment that's forever going to go down in history. And then we move into stage 5, which was the TT, right?
Yeah, just kind of like,
but hey, there's a couple highlights. So we did see Pogačar take the win, which, you know, here's the new blood in the peloton. You know, Campenarts, Tony Martin, obviously dealing with some injury, but you know, some of these big name time trials, Richie Porte, some of these guys have finished minutes behind.
Dude, I mean, Porte came 9th. Yeah. Asgreen came 6th. Wout came 4th. Jonas
Vingegaard.
Isn't that how you say it? Dude, Danish is a mental language.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
Pass that over.
Because Michael Morkov is pronounced Mørku. And I think it's even pronounced Michael Mørku.
Okay,
Danish is mental. Don't even try and pronounce any. I'm sure Kasper Asgreen is probably named Kasper Asgreen.
Probably. But of course, Pogacar took the win. I say of course
Of
because
course, yeah.
I mean after last year's TT,
But were you expecting it though? I wasn't expecting it.
I wasn't quite expecting it. What I wanted to shift to on this is like the fact that MVDP, whom we all know MVDP, right?
We do.
But the fact that he finished 31 seconds, 1 second behind Wout and 31 seconds behind Pogacar is pretty damn impressive. Considering like his time trialing, like
It's just non-existent.
Yeah, and we've like not really witnessed it, and quite frankly, like I don't think of him as a time trialist, both in physique and in just like, his forte of racing.
Yeah.
Like
he is a racer, right? Like time trialist is that sort of like just kind of grit your teeth, put your head down, put out the power. Whereas I feel like MVDP, like he wants to be racing against someone,
right?
And he wants to see them and destroy them,
right? And he's more of this. Most of his racing technique is this explosive couple minute power, and then I mean, yes, he obviously is going to have an engine to settle into a groove, but like almost every cross race, he goes off the front on like lap 2 or 3 and just obliterates everybody, and then just sets into a rhythm and just cruises. And same with like even the Mour de Bretagne.
You got it.
I'm okay. Great.
That's all you need.
Okay, good. I did it.
Bretagne.
But that was again this explosive, 500 to 700 watt sustained climb for a couple minutes, and then like kind of regroup, and then set into a groove, and then attack again. And so, all that being said, damn impressive.
Yeah.
Really, really surprising result, and again kept him in yellow. Which I think is just the story of the tour for me so far, is MVDP, like, a couple years ago being like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna race the tour, and then showing up and like just putting his heart on the line, winning for his family, winning for his grandfather, and now in yellow 4 days, and who knows? I mean, eventually
it's a sprint stage tomorrow, so he'll probably keep it tomorrow. But you remember when we were at the Tour of California in 2019?
Yeah.
And we were talking about the Danes. So on the finish list, we have a Dane in 3rd, 6th, 11th, 12th, 17th, and 29th. That is probably the biggest concentration of any nation in the top 30. It's pretty impressive.
Well, and I think so Denmark has 11 riders at the tour. France, not as a surprise, has 33.
Is Denmark the second most?
It looks like the Netherlands actually would be 14. Spain would be 17. So they're definitely in the top.
Okay.
Oh, Belgium has 22. So
Okay.
I think they're within the top 5 representation in the tour. But still, I mean, what? The Great Danes. As
Fred.
good old Fred Dryer. Thank you for that.
I kind of miss him.
But yeah, here's the deal. So this is going to post. Is going to post tomorrow. There's going to be a stage 6 that we will not have commentated on by then. But the GC right now, as of stage 5 time trial completed, Mathieu van der Poel in yellow, Alaphilippe 8 seconds down, Carapaz 31 seconds down. But check this out. Wout van Aert's tied 31 seconds down. Quintana 40 seconds. Geraint Thomas a minute 7. Roglic a minute 35. Port 3 minutes down. Lopez 3 minutes down. Dan Martin 8 minutes down. Yates 8 minutes down. Theo Gegenhardt 13 minutes down. Kuss 26 and Froome 29. So the GC, I know I threw a few names in there. Selective, Kuss and Froome probably were never really contenders. Yates was probably on the fence there a bit, but Theo Gegenhardt, I obviously riding for Geraint Thomas, but I don't think was expected to be 13 minutes down.
Yeah, no, probably not.
So,
probably not.
And not only that, but Carapaz being seemingly the leading Ineos rider right now due to all the crashes and just blow up at the GC. But this this is not.
Although Carapaz and Thomas are 10 seconds apart.
That's true.
So that flipped.
Yeah.
With and even like Guerin admitted to not having a great time trial. And he didn't.
The ugliness of this tour.
It's crazy.
This tour is just been obliterated, and it's frustrating because I think with all the crashes, there's a picture floating around of Roglic like literally taped like from his left knee all the way up to his left wrist, just covered in bandages.
He just looks like a mummy. Like a mummy in like toilet, like, when they like wrap in toilet paper.
And this look, crashing's a part of bike racing. There's so much. I was actually listening to good old Lance Armstrong's podcast. And he's always been, I mean, as a patron of the Peloton, like he's always advocated that the riders union should have more say in rider safety. And it seems like they continue not to be able to speak into these stages. And like they had a couple second protests at the start of stage 4.
4, yeah.
And it's like, cool guys, like great, you stopped for like 30 seconds to like tell everyone like, well, look at us, like what the. But it's just, this is so frustrating that's these narrow, shifty roads. Either teams need better caution, they need better rider representation, or route planning, or it's just bike racing. Arguably, this tour has had again these very low lows, very high highs. When it's about the spirit of racing, we're seeing amazing things. But when it's about rider safety, when it's about course design, it's pulling the sport down. And so some of these times for some of the GC contenders, I forgot to put Iran in here, whom I actually wanted to recognize because he's pretty dang close, which I'm excited about.
129 down.
Yeah. But the short of it is, I don't know. I feel really discouraged because a lot of these GC riders, this is just kind of a cataclysmic disruption of the ability for GC riders to be GC riders because of so many, again, just catastrophic crashes and holdups in the main bunch. So that's just been a really big disappointment for me.
Question for you then. I don't even know if this is a question. Does Pogs win the tour?
Well, so that's a great question. So here's the deal. One thing we were going to shift into this topic, and we're running a little long here, but the question we were going to discuss is what were some of the expectations going into the tour that have either been confirmed or kind of blown to bits. So one of which, to answer this question in a roundabout sort of way, is Team Sky came in with arguably one of their best Team Sky, quote unquote, Sky trains that they've ever had. Team Ineos, sorry. But the Sky train is my finger quotes now.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Arguably one of the best Sky trains they've ever had, I think, pretty close to it. And frankly, so two things. One, you have teams like Alpecin Phoenix, you have teams like Jumbo Visma. Israel Cycling had some threat.
Who?
Well,
they're basically a non-entity at this part.
Well, that's the thing. So Woods and Froome were obliterated. Froome sadly had a horrible crash that he almost didn't get up from. So who knows, obviously it's impacting him, but who knows to what degree. But Woods was going to be their GC contender. Oh, Miguel Angel Lopez, 3 minutes back. So my point is, like, they came into it with one plan and one plan only, which is to dominate the front of the peloton and put the riders in position to win. That is over. That was ruined on day one. And so I do.
Jeez. So the highest Israel Startup Nation rider right now is in 82nd place.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh wait, no, sorry, that was on the TT.
No. Woods I think is like 8 minutes down.
56th.
Yeah.
56th place, and that's Guillaume Bovin of Canada.
There you go.
Yeah. Dan Martin is 12 minutes. Like, Israel is done.
Yeah. Yeah. So to answer the question about Pogačar, is that this race this year, because of what's happened, I think now is teams like Team Sky could have come in and dominated the front of the peloton and put Geraint Thomas in a great position to win. That's done.
That's done.
So my thoughts are teams now are going to stop GC contending and start going for stage wins to try to salvage. And I think that's actually going to propel UAE forward because Pogačar can ride the tail of any of these teams trying to get a stage win and get free drafts and get free pulls on the front of the peloton and basically just stay in GC contention and win another tour. I think if all this crashing and just the dismemberment of GC contention this year hadn't been so destroyed within a matter of a few stages, I really think that Pogačar, like Team Ineos and others would have really dominated the race. So that's my hot take, is that I think these teams are going to be going for crazy stage wins, and as a result, Pogačar is going to get free rides. So that's my answer to your question.
Cool.
Great. So you agree.
Yeah,
I mean, what are your thoughts? I don't know. Does that
prefer him not to win?
Well, you can prefer him not to win all you want, but the problem is
that will he not win? No, he probably will win. It's hard to think. I mean,
well, and really,
this is the new, people talk about these sort of like eras.
Yeah.
When people win. So we've come out of the Froome era.
Yeah.
And then before that, we had the Contador era, was probably the closest one.
Don't forget about Lance.
Well, that was a little bit before that. Well, actually, before Contador, we didn't have an era, so then it would have been the Lance era.
Yeah.
And then before that, it was the Indurain era.
Yeah.
And then before that, probably Hinault was the... I think we're entering in the Pogačar era. Like, I don't think Roglic... I don't think he has it.
Yeah. Well, and it's...
One more thing, sorry,
Yeah.
just to cut you off. I apologize, but the frustrating thing is that the second or third best rider in the world isn't even racing. He just won the Giro.
Yeah,
and that's Bernal. And who knows? Maybe we'll have to wait until 2022 to see Bernal and Rog and Pog kind of matching
Face
up.
off.
But I think at this point, Pog would have to crash,
right,
to lose.
And so that's my thought right now. Is that there's two team mentalities right now. It's either we keep racing the way we want to race for a GC contention and take the variable that something catastrophic happens to the contending GC leaders, or we just at this point cut our losses and say F it, and we start going for stage wins to at least like appease our sponsors.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a huge gamble right now to say, like, does Team Sky just say like screw Ineos? Do they say screw the SkyTrain tactic? Are we just going to go for stage wins from here on out? How many stage wins can we get? Or are they going to still play GC contention with Carapaz or even try to pull Geraint Thomas back? I think they're probably in a position to do that, but all these other teams that had GC contention, I think from now on, they're just like, screw GC, it's over. We're 5 minutes behind. Like, let's just try to get stage wins. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to add to that is I think because in a matter of 4 stages, basically, the GC contention's been blown to bits. I think the Vuelta is going to be like crazy. Because if I was Ineos right now, I'd say, let's try to get some stage wins. Let's keep our riders fresh. Let's give them like Teo Gegenhardt. Let's like, hey, don't bust your balls. Like, just ride. Like, get a Grand Tour in your legs, and then let's go send you to the Vuelta as a top contender.
Although I could see them sending Bernal to the Vuelta.
True.
Also.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Vuelta. I mean, the Vuelta sort of exists in the calendar as this sort of like last chance saloon kind of a race.
Yeah, yeah. I think
where-
all the teams are going to be saying like, let's get our wins back on.
Yeah. No,
Anyway, go on.
that'll be it'll be interesting to see. I think I'm with you, dude. I think the Vuelta is going to be bonkers, but the problem is that probably Pogs and Rogs are both going to go to the Vuelta.
Yeah.
Because it is the Vuelta now is the tour that helps riders prep for the next season and kind of helps them keep that sort of form on. Like, I mean, how many times has Froome gone from winning the Tour to going to the Vuelta? And I think he only won the Vuelta once, but it was definitely like it was a race that he did many times.
Dude, can I make a wild speculation?
Go on.
This is like never gonna happen. But Wout van Aert right now for Jumbo is ahead of Roglic and not injured.
No, there's no way
Come on. I mean, dude, he literally rode some of those climbs up until like the final K last year.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know how he's at 30 seconds because I don't feel like his form is there.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the same Wout that we saw last year.
Yeah.
Which, to me, questions like, what would they really lean on him? I think Vingegaard.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll keep my wild predictions to myself.
But yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of, we've said many times, many pundits have said many times, oh, this tour or that tour is wrapped up and things always change. But it's hard to not see Pogs as the winner of this tour.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly don't wish any misfortune on Pogačar, but barring something, I mean,
I prefer somebody else to win.
Well, true, but we'll see. We will see. So, all that being said, if you haven't tuned in or if you've just seen highlights, let me make a few suggestions. Go back and watch the last 20K of stage 2 and watch Matthew van der Poel's just absolute finesse bike racing with heart on his sleeve. Watch
the last
stage 4.
5K, 2K, 5K of stage 4.
I was going to say like 10 to 20, but if you want to cut it short.
Say 10.
Yeah. 10. And just watch Cav win. And I'm sure you've seen enough Instagram or Twitter highlights of crashes, but you can if you'd like. But yeah, those are two just cycling moments that again are forever like just impressed in my mind and what make this sport what it is and what make me love cycling. And sadly, this tour has been juxtaposed with just the shittiest part of racing, which has just been these horrific crashes that inevitably are going to happen, but just happen in such a manner that it's just dumb. It's just dumb, and it ruins the race. So all that being said, we will see what happens, but we'll bring another podcast to you throughout the tour for sure. And we appreciate your time and attention for tuning in over here at Off the Back. We appreciate those who listen and who choose us or include us in part of your cycling podcast content that you take in.
For sure.
Intake. But yeah, tune back in. We'll see if any of our predictions or whimsical ideas come to fruition. This is all a guessing game at this point. If any year's been less uncertain than years prior, I think this one's definitely in the last decade created some of the most uncertainty of the tour. So we'll see how it all pans out. But any final closing thoughts?
I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks.
That's
so we'll probably try and record. We're going to try and do the Ellensburg trip in the middle of that time.
Yeah.
Don't know how that's going to work out. My shoulder still kills. We shall see. We'll let you know.
We'll see what we can do. But we want to talk more about this. We appreciate you tuning in. Watch the tour. Sadly, get the Peacock app if that's your only way to go. But we appreciate it. Have a great tour watching experience, and we'll chat soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.